The stars above the orbital platform hung still, cold and indifferent. From the edge of Earth's territorial space, the galaxy looked like an endless ocean, calm, beautiful, and for those who had never seen its darker currents, deceptively safe. Captain Aaron Hale stood at the main viewport of the ESS Resolute, the most advanced vessel humanity had publicly admitted to possessing. Beyond its hull, a cluster of trade convoys moved in silent formation, their drives glowing faintly as they carried grain, medicine, and machinery to outer colonies. For years, those convoys had been symbols of humanity's intent, trade and aid instead of conquest. It was a doctrine forged from history. Humanity had learned painfully that empires built on domination rotted from within. After the two world wars of the 20th century and the near-catastrophic conflicts of the 21st, Earth had sworn a different oath, never to start wars, but to finish them if forced. Unfortunately, ideals mean little to those who see mercy as weakness. "Captain," said Commander Lin Tran from the tactical station, her voice clipped, "we've intercepted distress signals from Mercy Dawn. She was on a medical run to the Theta V colony." Hale's eyes narrowed. The Mercy Dawn wasn't a warship. It was one of the largest hospital ships in human space, painted white with blue humanitarian markings in every known galactic language. International law, human law alien accords, declared such vessels untouchable, or at least that's how it was supposed to work. "Source of the attack?" he asked. Tran's fingers moved over the console. "A Corthan raider pack, 4 cruisers, no escorts. They're broadcasting victory chants on open channels." Lieutenant Raffi Morneau at communications glanced up, his voice shaking. "Sir, the Mercy Dawn, her signals gone. Hull integrity collapsed 2 minutes ago. No survivors reported." For a moment, no one spoke. The bridge of the Resolute was silent except for the soft hum of systems and the distant beat of Hale's own pulse in his ears. He had studied history, not just the glorious victories, but the atrocities that had changed civilizations. Guernica, Nanking, the bombing of hospitals in wars that claimed to be just. Every century, the same truth repeated. Some enemies saw kindness not as a shield but as a target. "Commander," Hale said at last, his voice low but carrying, "how many were aboard?" 482 souls, Tran replied. "Doctors, nurses, patients, and 32 children en route for critical surgeries." Hale closed his eyes. He had seen combat before, fought Corthan privateers in the asteroid belts, patrolled pirate-infested lanes, but nothing twisted his gut like this. There was no strategic objective here, no military gain, just a message: we can hurt you and you can't stop us. It was the same message bullies had sent for millennia from the first villages to interstellar empires. Raffi broke the silence again. "Sir, incoming priority link from Earth Security Council." The holographic display bloomed above the central console, resolving into the image of Admiral Sarah Keating. Her uniform was perfect, but her eyes told the truth: anger under control, grief not yet processed. "Captain Hale," she began without preamble, "you've seen the reports." "Yes, Admiral, we lost Mercy Dawn, no survivors." Her jaw tightened. "We tried to address it through the diplomatic tribunal. The Corthan delegation laughed in our faces. They claimed the attack was a lawful interdiction of enemy support assets." Hale's brow furrowed. "We're not part of their war. They don't care. To them, neutrality is a weakness to exploit. And it's not just the Corthans. We have confirmed evidence the Sulari hierarchy has been targeting our unarmed convoys near the inner belt." They are testing us. It was an old tactic in human history, testing the limits of what a rival would tolerate. Hale remembered his grandfather's stories about the Cold War and how small provocations, if unanswered, bred larger ones. History didn't just repeat, it rhymed in blood. "What are our orders?" Hale asked. Keating's gaze hardened. "The Council has ended our neutrality doctrine. We will continue to defend innocent lives, but we will do so proactively. The time for warnings is over." Her image flickered slightly as secure channels shifted encryption layers. When her voice returned, it was quieter but colder. "You are authorized to engage hostile forces at your discretion. Full capability, no restrictions." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Everyone knew what full capability meant. The Resolute was not, in truth, the most advanced ship humanity had. It was one of several prototypes built under the Aegis Directive, a project hidden so deeply in classified archives that most military officers didn't know it existed. Its weapons weren't meant for balance of power skirmishes. They were designed for existential threats. Keating leaned forward in the projection. "Aaron, they believe we are too small, too fractured, too soft to matter. Show them what happens when they mistake restraint for inability." Her image vanished, leaving only the steady glow of the status lights. Hale stood silent for a long moment. He thought of the faces on Mercy Dawn. He thought of the centuries of struggle humanity had endured to rise from tribal raids to interstellar travel. He thought of the lesson every student on Earth was taught in history class. Peace is preserved not only by the will to avoid war, but by the readiness to end one quickly when forced. He turned to Commander Tran. "Plot and intercept course for the Corthan Raider pack. Maximum stealth. We'll make this fast." "Aye, sir." As the Resolute shifted from silent watch to hunting posture, Hale addressed the crew. "We've been underestimated before, by empires, by tyrants, by those who thought numbers alone win wars. Every time, history proved them wrong. We are not starting a war today, but we will finish their attack on our people." The hum of the drives deepened and the stars outside began to slide. Somewhere ahead, 4 Corthan cruisers celebrated the destruction of a helpless ship. They had no idea the reckoning already moved toward them, silent, unseen, and unshakable. Captain Aaron Hale looked once more at the viewport, his voice barely above a whisper but carrying to every ear on the bridge. "They think we're weak. Let's teach them the price of underestimation. Dusk in space is a human word. It means the moment before action when the light feels thinner and the air tastes like a decision." On the navigation plot, dusk was the shadow of a gas giant, a long blue crescent sliding over 4 red contact icons marked Corthan CR class. To the crew of the ESS Resolute, it meant the last quiet breath before their first sanctioned strike. "Stealth field holding," reported Ensign Haruto Keed, voice steady. "Drive emissions below background. We're a cold rock with opinions." A ripple of dry laughter moved through the bridge and past. Humor was a shield, discipline was the blade. Captain Aaron Hale kept his eyes on the tactical pain. 4 cruisers, loose line ahead, riding the wake of a shattered medical ship. No escort screen, no pickets. The Corthans were hunters, but lazy ones used to prey that could not bite back. "Commander Tran," Hale said, "rules of engagement." Lin Tran's reply was crisp. "Confirming target classification, raiders who destroyed a protected humanitarian vessel. Under the Aegis Directive, hostile combatants are declared unlawful belligerents. Objectives: disable, compel surrender, or destroy if they continue hostilities." Prioritize life support where feasible. Cease fire if they power down and broadcast surrender. No shots at escape pods. No pursuit of ejected crew. Hale nodded. In the old histories, there were commanders who treated rules as decorations. Humanity had learned, sometimes the hardest way, that mercy was not weakness when it was guarded by strength. Restraint did not protect the guilty, it protected the innocent from what war could turn you into. Science, Hale said, threat profile. Dr. Noah Elbaz lifted her gaze from a swarm of graphs. Corthan CR class favors thick forward shields, heavy plasma at the nose, thin flanks. Targeting computers are brute force. They burn power to solve problems. They've never seen our lattice spears. Lattice spears? Morneau echoed, half a smile forming. Elbaz shrugged. Branding matters, Lieutenant. It's better than phase-optimized micro-bore kinetics. Marketing later, Hale said, but he let the line of humor run. It mattered more than many officers admitted. A relaxed crew hit the first shot closer to true. The plan was simple because the best first strikes usually were. Step 1, stay silent. Step 2, show something the enemy did not expect. Step 3, leave them unable to explain the loss without saying the word fear. Hale said, bring us on a converging vector. Use the giant's limb as glare. We ride the dusk. The Resolute slid through the blue shadow like a fish hugging a reef. Graviton veins flexed with a faint hum that the human ear could not hear but that veterans later swore lived in their bones. The gas giant's auroras painted faint ribbons across the viewport. Somewhere inside those calm lights, 4 Corthan captains boasted about the hunt. Range to lead cruiser, Hale asked. 61,000, Tran replied. Crossing 45 in 90 seconds. Communications, Hale said to Morneau, record. Morneau's hands hovered above the console. Recording, Captain. Hale drew a steady breath. When this was studied in classrooms, it should teach the right lessons. This is Captain Aaron Hale of the Earth ship Resolute, he said, voice even and cold. Corthan raiders operating under the clan banners Gil, Thar, Maul, and Tevk. You are ordered to power down weapons and drives and prepare to be boarded. You have attacked a protected medical vessel in violation of interstellar accords and basic decency. We do not start wars. We will finish your attack. Comply now and live. Morneau cut the recording and set it to burst. Hale waited a beat, then nodded. On my mark, drop stealth and broadcast on all bands. He didn't believe they would comply, not yet, but the record would stand. In law, in history, in memory. Mark. Stealth bled off the hull like frost under a sunrise. Resolute silhouette, a long, angular spearhead with minimal flare flashed onto enemy scopes. The burst message rode out in the same millisecond. The 4 Corthan cruisers hesitated, their vector curvature jittered. Surprise, which had been a human privilege in the last minute, became a shared commodity. They're charging forward guns, Tran warned. Target their flanks, Hale said. Let them show us their favorite mistake. Corthan plasma cannons awakened with the dirty glare of a storm seen through old glass. The lead cruiser fired first. A cone of bronze light spat across the void, so bright that for a useless second some human brains reached for words like sunrise and dragon. The beam hit empty space. The Resolute was not there. Pattern Theta, Hale said. Helm flicked the ship through a lattice of micro-jumps, so small they might have been twitches. Space did not like being asked to behave this way, but the ship's dimensional lattice did not ask. It insisted, and reality, annoyed, made room. Fire, Hale said. Lattice spears, Elbaz's term, had already glued itself to the bridge, left the ship as invisible threads, each tuned to a precise phase where Corthan Shield's thought hope lived. The spears phased through the forward cones, slid sideways under the shield gradient, and stabbed into thruster rings and targeting spines. The lead cruiser's plasma guns went blind. A second spear clipped power relays with surgical contempt, and lights across the enemy hull blinked, confused like thoughts that had forgotten their grammar. Two down to tumbling, Tran called. Third shifting to broadside. Fourth, sir, fourth is broadcasting the word cowards on an open loop. History is a shelf full of men who thought insults were armor, Hale said. Science prepare graviton triptych, communications, rebroadcast surrender terms. The third cruiser learned slower than its friend. It rolled to show its proud forward bulwark as if daring the human ship to test strength against strength. The Resolute flicked sidewise again. Spear threads lanced its lateral reactors. A long wound opened along the cruiser's ribs, not explosive but final, the kind of damage that made engineers bow their heads. The fourth cruiser made a better choice. It ran. Helm, Hale said, let it see us chase. Let it live in that thought. Resolute pursued, letting the Corthan think in simple lines. I am fast, they are behind, speed will save me. Elbaz looked like a professor at a chalkboard, but the chalk was gravity. Triptych ready, she said. 3 points, 15 kilometers apart, phase agreeing. Drop it, Hale said. 3 regions of increased curvature bloomed into existence around the running cruiser like 3 new heavy thoughts. They leaned on the ship from 3 angles that the universe usually keeps to itself. The Corthan hull groaned. Thrusters screamed in blue agony, not torn, not crushed, held. The enemy's power climb spiked, then dropped. The ship's vector crawled towards zero like a pride being lowered. Broadcast surrender again, Hale said. Morneau did. On the 4th repetition, a thin voice stabbed the static. This is Clan Tevk. We power down, do not vent us. Affirmative, Hale said. Comply and live. Helm, keep us wide. If they twitch, we end the conversation. The bridge was very quiet. Guns could have finished the work faster. Mercy took longer than hate, but the lesson took root deeper. Captain, Tran said softly, lead cruiser attempting a ramming solution. Of course, pride prefers stupid endings. Weapons, Hale said, we will not be a martyr to educate them. Remove their drive bell. Commander Juno Ortiz, who had not yet spoken, the quietest killer in the room, tapped a pattern that looked like a signature. A thread of invisible geometry kissed the Corthan's drive cone. The ship's engine separated as neatly as a ring cut free from a finger. The cruiser spun, wounded but intact. Hale exhaled. Status of survivors? 3 cruisers disabled, 1 surrendered, no life support breaches detected, our own systems green. He closed his eyes for a heartbeat. 482 on the Mercy Dawn. His chest felt like an iron bar had been welded inside. He let the feeling live. A commander who could not feel was a danger. A commander who could not endure the feeling was worse. Launch SAR drones, he said. Med pods on standby. If the surrendered ship requests aid, we render it. Mark hull positions for tribunal capture tugs. Morneau looked up. Sir, we have the raiders' open-channel chatter from before we revealed ourselves. Do you want to hear it? Hale shook his head once. No, save it for the tribunal. We are not here to feed rage. We are here to end a pattern. He signaled for ship-wide. Faces flickered onto the top of the bridge, engineering, med bay, gunnery, mess. Hale let his crew see his shoulders set. Resolute, you have done your job, he said. You showed the difference between cruelty and strength. You made space safer by being precise, not by being angry. Remember this day as our first strike, not our first revenge. When they write about it, I want a student to learn that power held on a leash is more dangerous than power let loose because it can be pointed at the right thing. He cut shipwide and looked to Tran. She was watching him with that tight, private look she brought out when she was ready to argue for the sake of the soul. "Say it, Lin," he invited. "Sir," she said, "when we're this far ahead in technology, mercy can feel like theater. They will call us hypocrites. They will say we spared who we could afford to spare." Hale nodded. "They might. But we are building more than a battle log. We are building a contract with ourselves. Every time we could choose excess and don't, we reforge that contract. It's how republics outlived empires." Elbaz folded her arms. Thucydides had lines about the strong doing what they can and the weak suffering what they must. "And humans learn to disagree," Hale said. "We wrote different rules and bled to defend them. We're not done writing." A soft chime. "Captain," Morneau said, "priority ping from Admiral Keating. Flag packet. It references beacon protocol." Hale felt the subtle shift again, the way an elevator makes a body remember gravity. The beacon protocol was not for local cleanup. It was a dark letter sealed for days when warning shots had to become sirens. "Put her through." Admiral Keating's face faded in all-winter clarity. Behind her, Earth command looked like a hive that had been shaken. "Aaron," she said, wasting nothing, "good work. We received your record. Every legal box is checked." "Good, because the box we didn't want to open has just opened itself." Hale straightened unconsciously. "Go ahead, Admiral." Intercepts confirm joint Corthan-Sulari task groups moving toward 3 human agricultural corridors. We estimate 46 ships in each group. They believe your strike was a bluff, one lucky prototype, small numbers. They mean to punish us for daring to fight back. You know what comes next. "We stop them before they touch civilians," Hale said. "We do more," Keating said. "We teach in a way that cannot be misread. The Council approved limited reveal of Aegis assets. You will not be alone." "Understood." "The first corridor is 20 hours from your position," Keating said. "Dusk will not cover you there. You'll be fighting in open daylight with every sensor in 3 sectors watching." Hale felt the weight and welcomed it. "We always said our doctrine should stand even when everyone sees. That is how you know it's doctrine and not convenience." Keating's mouth curved, not a smile, exactly an admission of respect. "Bring them to a halt, Captain. Leave them a future if they take it." The link dropped. For a long second, the bridge listened to the ship breathe. "Navigation," Hale said. "Plot a course to Corridor 1. All ahead, maximum within stealth envelope. Weapons, rotate fresh lattices. Science, refine triptychs for multi-ship anchors. Medical, prepare triage overlays for enemy hulls that accept surrender." He paused and added, quieter, just for his bridge, "We will be watched. Let them see us at our best." The Resolute swung its bow like a compass choosing north. Stars leaned. The gas giant's dusk fell behind them and the wide, white day of hard choices opened ahead. On the viewport's edge, one crippled Corthan cruiser flashed a surrender beacon again, brighter, longer, almost ashamed. Hale watched it for a moment and let a small space open in his chest where not everything was iron. "Commander Tran," he said, "leave a boy for tribunal pickets. Add a message." "What message, sir?" Hale's eyes stayed on the distant, steady light. "Tell them this, the first lesson is over. The second begins at dawn. No one asked when dawn was in space. On the Resolute, dawn would be wherever humanity stood with its face to the light and its back to the innocent. The ESS Resolute broke stealth on the far edge of the Thales expanse, 20 hours after leaving the shadow of the gas giant. Out here, space was raw and open, no planets to hug for cover, no asteroid fields to weave through. The trade lanes shimmered faintly with the wakes of freighters and agricultural transports. Beyond them, the tactical display painted 36 crimson blips in sharp, steady motion. 46 Korthan and Sulari warships, moving in a wide predator sweep. "They're broadcasting nothing," reported Lieutenant Morneau from communications. "Not even encrypted fleet traffic. They are running dark except for navigational pings." Captain Aaron Hale studied the formation. "They're not talking because they don't need to. This is a hunt they've rehearsed." Commander Lin Tran stepped up beside him. "Our intel says the Korthans handle the heavy forward assault while the Sulari fan wide to trap retreating ships. The freighters in Corridor 1 will have nowhere to run." Hale's eyes moved to the small blue triangles marking civilian traffic: 8 freighters, 2 agricultural megahaulers, 1 colony transport loaded with 600 settlers and their livestock. None of them had weapons worth the name. "ETA to interception?" 4 hours, Helm replied. 3 if they push drives. Dr. Noah Elbaz looked up from the science console. "Captain, our lattice batteries are fully cycled, triptychs recalibrated for multi-vessel engagement, but at these numbers," she hesitated. Hale finished for her. "We'll need to choose where to break their rhythm, not just where to break their hulls." It was an old truth, buried in both human and alien military history. The first step to defeating a larger force was to rob them of their plan before you robbed them of their ships. "Options," Hale said. Tran tapped the holo map. "They're sweeping wide, but their forward screen is overextended. If we hit the center hard enough, the flanks will either close in, leaving gaps civilians can slip through, or scatter to protect themselves." Morneau frowned. "And if they close in, we're in the middle of 46 warships." "That's where we belong," Hale said. "Science, I want every gravity triptych staged in overlapping fields. We'll make the center a killing ground they can't fly straight through." Elbaz's eyes gleamed. "A gravity mosaic. Nobody's ever tried that in open space." "Then let's be first," Hale said. He keyed shipwide. "Crew of the Resolute, this is the captain. We are about to meet a force designed to overwhelm us by sheer size. History books will tell you numbers win battles. They will be wrong. Discipline wins battles. Precision wins battles. And the will to stand where others would run. That's what decides whether the next generation grows up free or afraid." The bridge crew went silent except for the sounds of systems arming. This was not the rushed tension before the Korthan cruiser strike. This was the steadier kind, the kind that came when you knew the enemy saw you and still thought you'd lose. "Helm," Hale said, "bring us into the lane ahead of them. Keep the civilians behind our vector." The enemy appeared first as specks on the viewport, then as the angular glint of hull plating. The Korthan lead destroyer was all forward thrust and ugly weapons pods. Sulari craft moved more like reef predators, long and curved, flanking wide. "Range 200,000, Tran reported. "They've spotted us," Morneau added. "Fleet chatter spiking. I'm hearing lone human vessel and laughter." Hale allowed himself a small breath through his nose. "Broadcast our terms, all channels." Morneau's voice cut into the void, calm and cold. "This is Captain Aaron Hale of the Earth ship Resolute. You are ordered to break off your approach to civilian traffic and withdraw from this corridor immediately. You have attacked and murdered non-combatants. This is your only chance to leave alive." The reply was a growl from the Corthan flagship. "One ship dares, you will burn in the light of our victory." "Light is good," Hale murmured. "It makes the lesson easier to see." "Triptych fields ready," Elbaz called. "On my mark," Hale said, "drop stealth and engage lattice spears on the forward screen." The Resolute bloomed onto enemy scopes, a blade of metal and geometry where there had been empty space. 6 Corthan destroyers in the front line accelerated, plasma cannons spooling up. They were committed now, no time to break, no time to think. "Mark," Hale ordered. 3 Triptych fields winked into existence ahead of the forward screen. Invisible to the eye, they bent space just enough to twist trajectories, drag at hulls, and pull fire out of alignment. The first destroyer's plasma cone arced sideways into its neighbor's shield. 2 more ships jerked off course, drives screaming as inertial compensators fought the pull. "Spears away," Tran called. Invisible threads slipped under shields and through armor seams. 3 destroyers went dark in under 5 seconds. "Flanks closing," Morno warned. "Sulari craft accelerating to encircle." "Rotate Mosaic," Hale said. "We're not a wall, they are." Triptych fields shifted like pieces on a board. The flanking ships found themselves flying into pockets of gravity they hadn't planned for, their curves tightening until 2 collided, venting green fire into the dark. "Civilians clear on Vector Delta," Helm reported. "Good, now we show them what else they misjudged." The Resolute flicked through micro-jumps, reappearing dead center in the enemy's broken screen. Energy cannons flared, cutting precise lines through weapon pods and engine clusters. Where the Corthans built for brute force, the Sulari built for graceful speed. But speed didn't matter if you couldn't point the right way before a beam found your heart. Within minutes, the center formation collapsed entirely. 15 ships gone or disabled, the rest scattered into defensive clusters. "They're calling for reinforcements," Morno said. "Let them," Hale replied. "The more who come, the more who hear the lesson." He opened a direct channel to the Corthan flagship. "You thought we would scatter at the sight of your numbers. You thought wrong. Humanity does not count ships before deciding whether to fight. We count lives. Every freighter behind me is worth more than your entire armada." The Corthan commander's reply was static and rage. Hale cut the link and turned to his crew. "Mark wreckage for tribunal tugs. Continue covering the civilians until they are past the corridor." As the enemy regrouped in the far distance, the Resolute held position, weapons hot but silent. The battle was over for now, but the message was burning its way across subspace to every listening ear. Humanity had left the era of polite warnings. Dawn had come to Corridor 1, and it had teeth. The name Orion's Gate had always been more poetry than map. It was a stretch of space between 2 dense nebulae, a narrow corridor of stable lanes threading through ion storms and gravitational eddies. Traders loved it for its speed. Pirates loved it for the same reason. For centuries, it had been a crossing point of cultures, deals, and betrayals. Now, intelligence reports said it would be a killing ground. Captain Aaron Hale stood over the holo table, watching the threat markers bloom like infections across the map. The Corthans and Sulari had learned from Corridor 1. They were no longer advancing in loose, arrogant lines. This time they were setting bait. "Admiral Keating's packet confirms it," Commander Lin Tran said, scrolling the overlay. "They've placed decoy freighters here, here, and here. The signatures mimic colonial transports, the traps meant to draw us in fast." Morno leaned in. "And then, kill Box." Tran nodded. Likely, their flanks will be buried in the nebula edges, sensor-scattering gas and gravity pockets. We'd be flying blind before we even saw their main guns. Dr. Noah Elbaz frowned at the projection. They've finally done their homework. This isn't just a show of force. This is an ambush designed to make us look mortal. Hale folded his arms. Every commander in history has tried to turn a smaller, more agile force into a wreck inside a trap. Sometimes it works. Sometimes the trap closes on the wrong prey. He tapped the table. What's our visibility inside the gate if we push our lattice sensors? Elbaz considered. We can get partial reads, but nothing continuous. The nebula ionization eats coherent scans. We'd have to paint and move, flash the sensor beam, then reposition before they can trace it back. Sounds like guerrilla mapping, Morneau said. Exactly, Hale replied. We're going to turn Orion's gate into their problem, not ours. The Resolute approached the gate at sublight, riding the outer edges of the nebula's glow. The colors outside the viewport pulsed in slow motion, curtains of gold, green, and crimson sliding across black. Somewhere beyond, masked by electromagnetic haze, hostile ships waited for the first sign of a human silhouette. Begin mapping sweeps, Hale ordered. Microbursts of sensor energy flashed from the Resolute's bow, each lasting less than a heartbeat. On the tactical plot, ghost images of enemy hulls flickered in and out, 32 confirmed warships, perhaps more. Their formation was classic pincer, forward bait, hidden claws to the sides. They're holding position, Tran said. No response to our sweeps yet. They are waiting for us to commit, Hale said. Helm, bring us in slow. I want them sure we've taken the bait. As they eased into the gate, the ambient light shifted from distant starlight to the surreal, colored haze of the nebula. Ion static prickled over the hull. Hale kept his eyes on the map, noting each pincer wing creeping forward. They're closing the jaws, Morneau murmured. Not yet, Hale said. Science, deploy the anchors. Elbaz tapped a sequence, and 3 graviton anchors dropped silently into the lane behind them. Unseen, they unfolded a web of distortion across the corridor. Any ship trying to surge forward without clearance would find its own velocity turned against it. Forward decoys at 50,000, Tran reported, signatures still reading as colony transports. Hale gave a short nod. Weapons, prepare lattice spears and triptychs for simultaneous multi-vector fire. Helm, adjust course 5 degrees starboard, just enough for them to think we're wary but not suspicious. The trap sprang 10 minutes later. Multiple contacts surging from port and starboard, Tran called. They're accelerating hard, plasma banks charging. Morneau's board lit with open comms. Human ship, a voice snarled. Welcome to the gate. This is where your heroics end. Hale almost smiled. Weapons execute. The Resolute vanished in a flicker of dimensional shift, reappearing 2,000 kilometers above its last position, clear of the converging arcs of fire. At the same instant, the graviton web behind them flared to life. The pincer wings, expecting to crush prey, slammed into invisible currents that spun and stalled them. One Corthan cruiser collided with a Sulari frigate, shields collapsing as they tumbled. Triptychs on their flanks, Hale ordered. Artificial black holes blossomed for seconds at a time, dragging ships out of alignment, opening them to precise lattice spear strikes. Energy beams followed, slicing weapon arrays from hulls without touching life support. They are scrambling, Tran said. Half the formation trying to disengage. Seal the exit, Hale replied. The Resolute leapt again, this time to the far mouth of the gate. Another graviton anchor dropped, sealing the corridor like a door barred from the inside. Now the ambushers were the ones in the box. "Broadcast surrender terms," Hale said. "Make it clear compliance means survival." Morno's voice carried over every frequency. Minutes passed. 4 ships powered down, then 6 more. The rest tried to fight. Hale's reply was surgical. The Resolute danced through dimensional shifts, each reappearance marked by a crippled enemy vessel. Within 20 minutes, silence fell over the gate. "Status?" Hale asked. 17 ships disabled, 10 surrendered, 5 destroyed in crossfire, Tran reported. "No civilian losses, no damage to us." Hale looked out at the swirling colors of Orion's gate. History will remember this place for more than ambushes now. As the last hostile drive flickered out, Hale keyed the ship-wide channel. "We came here under their terms. We leave under ours. Let this stand as proof. Traps only work on those who haven't read the past." He cut the line and turned back to the map. In the distance, new threat markers began to flicker on the rim of human space. The war was far from over, but Orion's gate had sent a message. Some prey bites back. Cassida Prime was a jewel in the frontier, an ocean world with scattered island continents, home to nearly 4 million civilians. Its reefs produced biocompounds used in advanced medicine, making it a vital supplier to human and alien markets alike. For decades, Cassida had been neutral ground, protected by its usefulness. That illusion ended when the Korthan-Sulari coalition marked it as their next target. The enemy didn't rush this time. They came slow, deliberate, building pressure like a storm front creeping over the horizon. First, trade routes were harassed. Then sensor relays in nearby systems went dark. Finally, a ring of warships took shape just beyond Cassida's outer moons, 54 vessels in all, heavy on siege platforms and long-range artillery. "They are not here for a raid," Commander Lin Tran said grimly as the tactical display filled with crimson icons. "They want to choke the planet until it gives up." Classic siege doctrine. Captain Aaron Hale stood with arms folded, studying the ring. "It's an old doctrine because it works if the defenders fight the siege on the enemy's terms." "Doctor," Noah Elbaz tapped her console. "We can't match their firepower in open space without risking the planet, but their formation's brittle. Too many artillery ships, not enough fast interceptors. If we force them to maneuver, they'll lose cohesion, which is why they are staying just out of our immediate reach," Hale said. "They're betting we'll break ourselves trying to get to them." Morno looked up from communications. "We're receiving a wideband broadcast from the enemy commander. He's offering lenient terms if the planet surrenders now. Translation: pay tribute, dismantle defenses, and accept occupation." A low murmur of disgust passed through the bridge. Hale's voice cut through it. "Patch me through." The main screen shifted to show a Korthan in ornate siege armor, a half-smirk on his scaled face. "Human captain, you cannot protect this world. Our fleets control the space above, and your reinforcements are too far to matter. Spare these people the suffering of a siege." Hale's reply was calm, almost conversational. "General, you speak as though sieges always end the same way, but history disagrees. Sometimes the siege is remembered for the day the besiegers vanished." The Korthan's smile thinned. "We will not vanish, Captain. We'll see," Hale said and cut the channel. The Resolute moved into Cassida's upper orbit, its stealth field idling but ready. Hale's plan wasn't to meet the siege line head-on. He intended to turn their own patience into a weapon against them. Step 1 was information control. "Communications," Hale ordered. Launch ghost boys in the debris fields near their artillery ships. Feed them false signals, make it look like blockade runners are slipping through. Within hours, enemy interceptors began peeling off to chase phantoms. The ring loosened in places, tiny gaps appearing between siege platforms. Step 2 was disruption. Under cover of a Cassidon night, the Resolute used micro-jumps to slip into the shadow of a small moon. From there, precision lattice spear strikes took out key power relays on 3 siege ships before they even registered an attack. Hail left them drifting but intact enough to limp home, broadcasting their confusion. By day 4, the Coalition's perfect ring looked more like a bent chain. Supply ships hesitated at the gaps, forcing the besiegers to burn fuel repositioning. Every hour spent maneuvering was an hour without firing on the planet. "They're getting frustrated," Tran observed as she watched the sensor feed. "We've forced them into reactive mode." "That's when mistakes happen," Hale said, "and we'll be ready." The mistake came on day 7. A Sulari strike group, impatient with the stalemate, surged forward to flush the Resolute from Cassida's skies. 12 ships in tight formation, diving straight through the mid-sector gap. Hale didn't meet them in orbit. He jumped the Resolute behind them, cutting off retreat, and deployed overlapping triptych fields to slow their turns. One by one, the Sulari ships found themselves bracketed, disabled, and left drifting into Cassida's gravity well, rescued later by human tugs under white flags. The siege commander's tone changed after that. His next broadcast was shorter, more formal. "State your terms." Hale kept them simple. "Withdraw all forces beyond Cassida's system line. Leave your artillery hulks for salvage as reparations. If you fire a single shot on the way out, the lesson becomes permanent." An hour later, the crimson icons on the tactical map began to fade as enemy drives lit for outbound burn. That night, from Cassida's surface, people looked up and saw clear skies for the first time in over a week. The ocean glittered with bioluminescent light, and the moons hung bright and still. In the Resolute's ready room, Hale reviewed the after-action reports. "We didn't just protect Cassida," he said to Tran and Elbaz. "We proved that a siege isn't unbreakable if you break the mindset it depends on." Elbaz nodded. "In history, some cities fell because they believed they would. Cassida believed otherwise, and we gave them a reason to." Outside the viewport, the world turned slowly free again. But beyond the calm horizon, the war was shifting. Intelligence reports spoke of a coalition summit, Korthan and Sulari leaders planning something larger, something meant to crush humanity's spirit in one decisive blow. Hale knew the pattern. In every era, when an aggressor failed at the edges, they struck at the heart. And Earth was the heart. The first reports came as whispers over deep space comms. Unusual fleet movements in sectors far from the front, mining colonies requisitioned for emergency resource collection, and mercenary contracts bought out in bulk by unknown bidders. Within days, the whispers became a roar. On the Resolute's bridge, Commander Lin Tran laid the latest intelligence over the galactic map. The red arcs swept wide, converging toward a single point like rivers feeding the same ocean. That point was Earth. "They are committing everything," Tran said grimly. "Our analysts estimate over 8,000 ships already in motion. By the time they cross the midpoint, it could be closer to 10. Lieutenant Morno's voice was low. "This isn't a raid, this is extermination." Hale studied the map in silence. The Korthan-Sulari coalition had been bloodied, humiliated in multiple engagements. History taught him that when a cornered empire had a choice between peace and pride, pride often won, even at the cost of survival. This was their gamble, one strike so massive that even humanity's new reputation couldn't stop it. Dr. Noah Elbaz broke the silence. Their supply lines will be thin if they commit that many ships. They'll have no reserve fleets, no fallback position. Tran shook her head. They don't plan to fall back, Doctor. They plan to end the war in one blow. Hale keyed the secure line to Admiral Sarah Keating at Earth Command. Her holographic image resolved above the console, the war room a blur of motion behind her. "We've confirmed the massing," she said without greeting. "Your estimates match ours. They're bringing every hull they can crew. Our home defense fleet stands at 300 ships, no match in a direct fight." Hale's voice was steady. "Admiral, it's time." She narrowed her eyes. "You're invoking the Aegis Reserve." "Yes," Hale replied. "If we wait until they are in lunar orbit, it'll be too late." Keating gave a single, sharp nod. "Then you have full authorization to coordinate the fleet reveal. The galaxy's about to see what we've been building." 2 days later, in the Centauri staging grounds, the Resolute dropped out of FTL into a vast, silent armada. 56 other Aegis-class dreadnoughts shimmered into view, their stealth fields collapsing like morning fog. Each hull was different in detail but united in purpose. Sleek, angular designs with no wasted line, their power signatures coiled tight like predators waiting for the signal to strike. Morno's voice carried a rare note of awe. "We've kept this secret for years." Hale's gaze moved across the fleet, "and now we use it for the reason it was built." The fleet commanders appeared on a multi-pane holo. Captain Lena Voss of the Valiant, Commander Jace Okoro of the Aegis, Captain Min Alaric of the Hammerfall, and dozens more. Hale outlined the plan with crisp efficiency. "We intercept the coalition armada in the Eridani expanse. Open space, no planetary crossfire risk. They believe they're heading into a siege of Earth. Instead, they'll be walking into the kill zone of 57 ships they didn't know existed." Captain Voss leaned forward. "We can't destroy all 10,000 ships in one pass. How do we break their will before they break our lines?" "By shattering their command structure," Hale said. "We target flagships, fleet coordination hubs, and heavy carriers. Without leadership, their numerical advantage becomes a liability. They'll choke their own lanes." Commander Okoro added, "And if they retreat?" "Then we pursue until they accept terms," Hale replied. "No half measures. If we let them limp away with pride intact, they'll rebuild." On the eve of departure, Hale walked the Resolute's main deck. Crew members moved with the quiet focus of those who understood what was coming. In the mess, conversations were low but steady. In engineering, Chief Ocampo's team tuned graviton emitters to a precision Hale had never seen outside a lab. Morno found him near the viewport, looking out at the stars. "Captain, do you ever think about how we got here? I mean humans. How we went from avoiding every fight we could to standing here about to face 10,000 ships." Hale didn't take his eyes from the star lines. "Every civilization that survives long enough faces the same choice. Live quietly and hope the wolves never come, or be ready to face them when they do. We didn't stop valuing peace, Raffi. We just accepted that peace worth having is one you can defend." Morno nodded slowly. "And if we win, then we use that victory to make sure we never have to fight this kind of war again." Hours before the jump to Eridani, Admiral Keating's voice came over fleet-wide comms. "To all Aegis-class crews, you were built for this moment. The enemy believes numbers will shield them, show them what technology, discipline, and the will to protect your home can do. Make this the day the galaxy learns the cost of threatening humanity. On the Resolute's bridge, Hale took his chair. The fleet's jump coordinates locked in, a lattice of light on every nav screen. Helm, Hale said, set course. Maximum burn. 57 dreadnoughts turned as one, their drives igniting in silent brilliance. The stars stretched into lines, and the fleet vanished into the dark, carrying with it the weight of Earth's survival and the promise of a reckoning that would echo far beyond human space. The storm was coming, but this time humanity was the thunder. The Eridani expanse was a graveyard waiting to happen. Open space stretching hundreds of millions of kilometers in every direction. No planets, no asteroid belts, no cover. Just a black canvas where strategy would paint in fire. 57 Aegis-class dreadnoughts emerged from FTL in tight formation. On every tactical screen, the enemy armada was already there, a tidal wave of crimson icons stretching beyond the display's edge. 10,000 ships, battle cruisers, destroyers, carriers, siege platforms, arrayed in a crescent formation designed to encircle and crush. They outmass us by 100 to 1, Commander Lin Tran said from the tactical station, and they are moving to close the ring. Captain Aaron Hale's eyes stayed on the central cluster of hostile icons. Where are their flagships? Dr. Noah Elbaz magnified the display. 3 primary command ships, Korthan Bloodspire, Sulari Vaethra's Crown, and a joint coordination carrier Unity of Purpose. Each with fleet-level comm arrays and dedicated escort screens. Hale tapped the Unity. That's our first target. Kill their coordination and this armada becomes a mob. Across the fleet-wide comm, Admiral Sarah Keating's voice rang clear. Aegis Fleet, commence. The Resolute surged forward with 2 wings of dreadnoughts flanking, the rest fanning into attack patterns. Quantum torpedoes flared from launch bays, 6 at a time, each one tuned to phase through shields and detonate at the molecular core of enemy hulls. The first wave ripped through 37 destroyers before their crews even registered an impact. The enemy responded with a wall of plasma and mass driver fire that lit the void like a sunrise. The Aegis ships danced through it, their dimensional phase drives flickering them in and out of visible space. To the coalition gunners, the human ships seemed to exist in multiple places at once and in none at all. Flagship Unity is vectoring away, Tran reported. They know we're coming. Hale's tone was like ice. Pursue triptych fields on their escorts. 3 artificial gravity wells appeared around the Unity's screening ships. 2 frigates were dragged into collision. A destroyer had its drive cone torn clean off. The gap in the screen was all the opening the Resolute needed. Lattice spears, fire, Hale ordered. Invisible threads punched through the Unity's dorsal hull. One severed its main comm spine. Another collapsed its shield grid. A third carved through the primary reactor housing. In seconds, the coalition's nerve center was a drifting hulk. All enemy formations showing disruption, Elbaz reported. Their timings collapsing. With the Unity gone, Hale shifted the attack to the Korthan Bloodspire. Captain Lena Voss of the Valiant took point, her ship delivering a precision gravitational strike that crumpled the Bloodspire's forward hull like foil. Moments later, a triple beam from the Resolute severed its weapon banks. The once-proud flagship was reduced to a powerless carcass in under a minute. Meanwhile, Captain Min Alaric's hammerfall swept into the Sulari flank. disabling the Vaethra's crown with a pair of quantum torpedoes and a follow-up energy lance that vaporized its hangar bays. Enemy comms went wild, contradictory orders, overlapping retreat signals, uncoordinated charges. The crescent formation broke into fragments. "They're trying to scatter," Tran said. Hale's voice was calm, almost quiet. "We don't let them." The Aegis fleet moved like a living organism. Dreadnoughts leapt into micro-jump positions ahead of retreating groups, cutting them off, then collapsing on them with precision strikes that left no path forward. One by one, enemy clusters were immobilized. After 42 minutes of sustained combat, the battle was effectively over. Wreckage and crippled ships drifted in every direction. The stars were dimmed by the debris cloud of what had once been the largest offensive fleet in recorded history. "Captain," Morneau said, "we're receiving surrender signals from multiple sectors. Coalition commanders are requesting terms." Hale keyed the fleet-wide channel. "This is Captain Aaron Hale of the Resolute. All surviving coalition vessels will power down weapons and submit to boarding for disarmament. You will be treated according to the laws of war. Refuse, and you will not leave this sector." There was no reply, only the slow, spreading ripple of ships shutting down power. On the flagship channel, Admiral Keating's face appeared, lit by the glow of victory. "Well done, Captain, you've broken their spear." Hale's answer was measured. "We've broken their fleet. Now we need to make sure we don't have to do it again." In the silence that followed, the debris drifted. Somewhere in that void lay the Coalition's pride, shattered beyond recognition. The Eridani expanse would be remembered, not as Earth's grave, but as the day 10,000 ships learned that numbers mean nothing against resolve. And Hale knew this was more than a battle won. It was the moment the galaxy saw humanity not as prey, not as a curiosity, but as a force that would not yield. The wreckage of the Eridani expanse drifted for days, a silent testament to the folly of those who thought sheer numbers could crush will. Scavenger drones moved through the debris fields, marking derelict hulls for towing. Across the Aegis fleet, damaged crews patched scorched plating and recalibrated lattice generators, but the mood was not one of exhaustion. It was the quiet, steady calm of a force that knew it had changed the course of history. On the Resolute's bridge, Captain Aaron Hale stood at the viewport, the faint glow of a crippled Sulari carrier reflecting in his eyes. Commander Lin Tran approached from tactical, datapad in hand. "Coalition envoys have arrived in the neutral station at Novice Reach," she reported. "Admiral Keating wants you there as part of the signing delegation." Hale nodded once. "They've lost their fleets, their command structure, and half their supply lines. If they've asked for talks, it's because they understand the alternative." "Doctor," Noah Elbaz looked up from her station. "Let's hope they understand more than just survival, Captain. Fear's a poor foundation for lasting peace." The Novice Reach Accord chamber was a circular hall of stone and steel, its open skylight framing a slow-turning nebula. Delegations sat at opposing arcs of the ring. On one side, humanity's representatives, Admiral Sarah Keating, Captain Hale, several fleet captains, and diplomatic envoys from Earth and the frontier colonies. On the other side, the humbled Korthan War Marshal Threx Vern and Sulari High Admiral Valith Zora, each wearing the plain field uniforms of officers with nothing left to command. Keating's voice carried the weight of the moment. "This is not just an end to hostilities. These are the terms under which you will be allowed to rebuild without repeating the crimes that led us here." She tapped the console, and the terms appeared in the air between them. 1. Permanent disarmament of strategic fleets, no ship over a certain tonnage or with weapons beyond defensive capacity to be constructed for the next 20 years. 2. War reparations, material aid, technology access, and resource shares to rebuild the colonies and worlds your forces devastated. 3. Humanitarian oversight joint reconstruction councils led by neutral member worlds to ensure resources go to civilian needs first. 4. Mutual defense pact any attack on civilian worlds, human or alien, within agreed borders will be met with a unified response. The Corthan marshal's jaw flexed. You would have us kneel before you as vassals. Hale leaned forward. His voice was calm, but each word was carved in stone. No, we're asking you to stand beside us as something better than what you were. You mistook mercy for weakness. You thought our restraint meant inability. Now you know the truth. This pact isn't about humiliation. It's about making sure no child on any world wakes to the sound of orbital bombardment ever again. The Sulari Admiral's gaze dropped briefly, then rose again. And if we refuse? Keating didn't answer immediately. She simply turned her eyes toward Hale. He spoke with the same steady tone he had on the bridge of the Resolute. Then history will remember Eridani not as your greatest defeat, but as your final battle. Silence filled the chamber. The envoys conferred in low voices. At last, Threx Vern lifted his hands, clawed fingers curling inward. We sign. Weeks passed. Disarmed coalition vessels limped home under escort, their crews exchanging glares and wary nods with human sailors. Reconstruction fleets departed from Earth, carrying food, medicine, and the kind of engineers who could rebuild cities faster than governments could agree on their budgets. On Cassida Prime, Corthan medics helped human doctors restock ocean-based biolabs. In Sulari space, human cargo ships delivered atmospheric processors to worlds whose skies had been blackened by their own war industries. Hale visited both. On Cassida, he saw children in blue uniforms running alongside Corthan youths on the docks. On Sulari Prime, he stood in a factory once used for warship armor plating and watched it churn out medical drones instead. 5 years later, the Confederation of Free Worlds convened its first full assembly. 12 member species sat in the Great Ring, each with equal vote, each bound by the mutual defense pact born at Novice Reach. Humanity's seat bore the name not of Earth alone, but of united human worlds. The galaxy beyond was still dangerous. Pirate fleets in the Outer Rim, an expansionist power in the Andromedan fringe. But now, when any member sent a distress call, the answer would come from many banners, not one. On the Resolute's bridge, Admiral Hale, promoted but still in command, watched the stars slip past. His crew was mostly new now, but the discipline, the moral compass, the refusal to let strength become tyranny, those remained. Morno, now his first officer, stepped up beside him. Strange, isn't it, to think the war that almost broke us gave us this? Hale's gaze stayed on the star lines. Every chapter in our history has been written the same way: conflict, cost, choice. This time we chose to be more than just the last ones standing. We chose to make sure others could stand too. The comm pinged. A colony on the frontier was requesting escort through a pirate-threatened sector. Hale gave the order to alter course. The Resolute turned, her drives igniting with that same silent brilliance that had once led fleets into fire. Now it led them into protection. The war was over, but the mission remained. Humanity didn't start fights. But if someone threatened the peace they had built, the galaxy knew exactly how it would end.